What's up guys, Eric here, welcome back to the channel. In today's video I'm talking about using the A7 IV for 2 years and my thoughts on it. Okay, so just a little bit of background going into this. I've had my Sony A7 IV for 2 years now, about 2.5. Before that I was using a Sony A7 II, mainly just doing photography, but as I grew my business and my clientele, there was more demand for video as well. And the A7 II could not keep up. The autofocus was terrible. It was only shooting 1080 24 FPS, it couldn't even do 60. And I just feel like I needed to make that upgrade, and in early 2022, as I picked up a basketball photography job, I figured now's the time, let's upgrade, and honestly, it's probably my best purchase. Best camera body I've used, most versatile. The A7 IV, if you already don't know this, it is a hybrid camera, so it shoots both photo and video at very high quality. I think it's 24 megapixel photos, I might be wrong. For photo, it's been really great. The autofocus was so much better than the A7 II. There's so many different options that you can work with in terms of focus. One of the biggest things of this camera that I really love, there's so many different options and modes that you can do with this camera. So like for photo, for example, you can obviously, so I shoot on manual. So I'd say me, photo-wise, it's been the same, but I would say the layout in which some of the buttons, such as changing ISO and all that, you can change that yourself and change all these little buttons and dials and these C1, C2s. You can customize those to be whatever you want. I think my C1 is like my white balance, my C2 is my focus mode. Change some of those around a little bit, but the customization on this camera is great, and there's so many little features in this camera that I've found to just really enjoy over my older camera. Besides that, I remember there's a new feature that this little dial right here, if it'll focus, you can put your center fix like on the middle of the screen. You can move this around and change your center fix. So let's say you want to do a shot and you want to be focused somewhere on the right side of the screen or the left side of the screen or one of the corners. You can just move that right there, and that's one of the best things as well. For the A7 IV, it is touchscreen. So what this screen is really nice is if you are trying to focus on certain areas that your autofocusing isn't doing too good of, you can tap on the screen and there's a little feature. You can see it right there, touch operation. If you hit the little trash can icon, you can turn your touch operation on or off, and you can literally just tap on the screen at certain spots. I won't show right now because I don't have a lens on, but you'll see a tiny little square in the area that it's focusing on. And then you can also, again, use these little dials right here to move it left or right, up or down. Another thing is with this screen, which is great, is that it's different than the last one. The A7 II screen, it goes from inward here, and then you pop it out and it goes out this way a little bit. But with this one, this is like how a standard is, but I never use it this way because you can rotate it out so you can see yourself, right? So let's say you're like, for my setup right here, I'm filming with another A7 IV, and I'll talk about that in a little bit why I have two. But you want to see yourself filming, you got that, and you can just rotate it around. So a lot of times when I'm shooting, I'm at this angle, I can see my screen here. And obviously if I'm shooting vertical, you can rotate it as well like that. And besides all those features, there are little things in this camera, such as that it has a shutter cover in the camera to kind of remove any of the unwanted like particles getting in the camera. Now I know people have different opinions on that because sometimes people will say it actually doesn't prevent the sensors from getting particles and dust in it. Other people say it does help. On this one, I think I have it on, but on my main one, I don't have it on. Besides the photo side of things, video-wise was one of the biggest reasons why I did upgrade cameras, as I mentioned earlier. So with video, you have 4K 60, which is a huge jump from the A7 II I had, which was 1080 24, I believe, maybe 30. Then you have different modes here, which is great. So you have this little dial here. It's really tiny, but you have a photo mode, a video mode, and an S and Q mode. The S and Q is slow motion, and it's straight out the camera slow motion, but it doesn't give you audio, so I never shoot in that mode because just about in every single project I do, I like to use some natural audio that I filmed from a shoot. What I tend to do is I have different presets here, and when you get this camera, you can set them up so where there's a dial 1, 2, and 3. So for me, for my setup, I'll change this little, there's a tiny little thing right here. They focus right here, you move this, now I'm in video mode. You can see right there, I don't know why I went upside down. You see right there, the little light, little white line on the video thing. Then I go from manual to 1, and my 1 dial is 4K 60, S-Log 3. Then if I change it to dial 2, it's 1080, 120, S-Log3 in case I want to shoot 120. Because that's another thing too, is with this camera, not only can you shoot just your standard 1080-60, but you have the 120 mode if you really want it. I don't use that too much, but I have that there just in case. And then I just have a standard 1080-60 when I'm filming YouTube videos or just different client work that was just gonna go on things like YouTube and whatnot, not really for social media. But that's one of the biggest things I always recommend with people getting this camera, is make those setups so you're not in manual mode changing everything. So for me, when I'm in any situation, okay, I'm about to go film basketball runs, I know that dial 2 on this camera right here, I'm at 1080, I'm at 60, I'm at S-Log3, and all I have to really do is adjust my balance, and then from there I'm set. Dial 1, 4K 60, and then I'm set. So those little things are huge, and one of the other big things for me that I still consider myself learning, but it's definitely huge to have on this camera, different picture profiles in the camera. You can go in and there's so many different picture profile options right here. The one I always shoot in is picture profile 8 because that is the standard S-Log3. That's when I shoot everything in that, and I go in Premiere and do my conversion LUTs, and then I make my changes to my video footage. Those are some of the main things that I really love about this camera. Now, I do have 2 of them. This is the first one, and I'm filming with the second one right now. The only reason I really have 2, I was never planning on getting 2, at least not this soon in my career, is that for my career, I film into photos for my school's sports in their athletics department, and we're doing a football game November of last year, and it got rained out, and I had my camera completely covered with a poncho. The rain was insane. Like, I've never been in that type of rain ever when taking, like, I never take photos in the rain. So for it to be my first time in the rain and it for being that bizarre to where my camera just, this one stopped working for a while. I had to buy another A7 IV. I had more client shoots that week and more work to do within this job. Having 2 A7 IVs, it seems overkill. I've had situations where I'm working events, like the first wedding I photographed this year. I have this one for like a 35, my wide angle, and I have this one for my 70-200. So therefore, I'm not having to run around constantly swapping lenses. I have both of these on my hip with my harness, one here and one here, and that just makes my life easier. I know it does seem overkill, but trust me, as you are getting into bigger projects and bigger clientele things like weddings and different events, engagements, you need to be ready. And honestly, for me, at first it sucked having to buy a whole new one because these are not cheap. I looked at it, I'm like, in the long run, I will definitely need it. And again, with it being hybrid cameras, so I technically have a 2-camera photo setup, a 2-camera video setup, and a 2-camera 1 photo 1 video. Because with this being hybrid, I've used it for 2 cameras for video, having 2 different angles during an interview. I've shot that, and then 2 different photo cameras for weddings and events that I've recently done, and then the need sometimes for client shoots that want both photo or video. I have that set up as well. So the camera has just been, it really elevated my career. My clientele was very small before I purchased this. I bought this camera and I knew that it would take a little bit of time for it to pay off and get the money back from clientele, but with time, it really just elevated my work. I really watched the quality of my photos and videos progress as I've been using this camera. A lot of, I'd say, my video stuff I was really learning from 2022 to probably late last year, early this year. I really watched my video grow fast because I was constantly trying new things. I was constantly learning from the people around me. Yeah, I mean, that's just some of the biggest takeaways I can say for this camera. 2 years later, I still recommend this camera. I know there are different, more expensive options like the Sony A7iv III, which is just an insane camera, but this I consider affordable. Again, it's not cheap, but you really get what you pay for. I know some people will still recommend, oh, get the A7 III, it's cheaper, it's good. Yes, it's a great camera, but in my opinion, I think it's a little outdated when it comes to video. A7 IV is the standard, I think. In my opinion, the quality of the A7 IV for photo and video is like the minimum standard if you consider yourself a professional and doing professional clientele work. Honestly, I don't really have anything to complain about with this camera. There's only, I'd say, 2 little things to complain about. One of them being is that it's only 4K 60. There's no 4K 120 like a FX3, FX6. But you have to understand this is a hybrid camera, so it's gonna do both photo and video pretty good. Obviously it's not A7R series, which is a primary photo camera, or a cinema camera like a FX3, FX6. Get the best of both worlds at a pretty good quality, if that makes sense, for both. Those are some of the biggest things. And one of the other things I noticed is sometimes shooting K60 for a long duration, the camera is going to overheat. So that's something I noticed, but what I actually did realize is I did research on it, and people were saying that constantly check for software updates, firmware updates, and I always recommend doing those little updates. There's always bug fixes. I remember one of the first few ones was to actually help with overheating. The A7 IVs first came out, I remember reading about it and reviewing on it. A lot of people were complaining about how it would overheat in shooting 4K, shooting in bright conditions, shooting long format videos like podcasts and YouTube videos. So those little things, if you get this camera, always be on the lookout. I don't know if people really like promote this in the reviews for these cameras, but whatever camera you end up with A7 IV, anything else, always look online, Sony's site, and there's always going to be firmware updates for the newer models. And it's really simple process. You download it to an SD card, you put it into your camera, and you update it. With that being said, I hope this video was informative. If you guys have any questions regarding this camera, what I do, my lenses, anything you see on my YouTube channel, Instagram, TikTok regarding my career, what I do, let me know in the comments, message me on Instagram, whatever you want to do, whatever works best for you. With that being said, if you guys have any other little videos you want me to talk about, then camera gear, then different types of shoots that I do, let me know in the comments. With that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one.